Right, there we are.
Recording.
Good. So, shall we just finish with...
Finishing, just a few more stats and things. Now, former England boss, Steve McLaren, he's in talks with Dundee United at the moment to become their new manager. And, he has also worked in Holland and Germany and says he can't wait to get back into management. Well, I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, that bloke.
No, I wouldn't.
Or an
I don't
umbrella.
think he'd want you to.
The Manchester United are the first team to use 6 substitutes in the same game when they beat Norwich 2-1 in the Cup last weekend. Crystal Palace, they created a record. They did not have one touch in the Liverpool penalty area in the whole match as they lost 4-0 at Anfield. This is the first time that a team hasn't touched a ball in the opposing penalty area since records began. That's some doing that, isn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Unbelievable.
Now, another
Roy's a
record that
good
was
man.
Not as if Liverpool were any good, would it?
It was mentioned on Match of the Day that Sheffield Wednesday hold a record for the most consecutive years by a team to reach the FA Cup quarter-finals. I didn't know that until it was mentioned.
1890s.
I know it went back a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
When you were in your nappy, John.
Yeah.
When there were only 8 teams in it.
He's still in his nappy now.
I think Paul's the best.
Now, Stephen Fletcher, Fernando Forestieri, Morgan Fox have turned down current contract extensions, so they will leave the Owls today, the last day of June. I know John's going to feel a bit sad about Fletcher going.
Yeah.
Well, if he goes to
His
United-
injury was the main reason for our decline from third to nowhere. I know you shouldn't rely on one player, but he scored 13 goals by Christmas, and he was having a tremendous season. I mean, I know we all talk about injuries and they affect everybody, but that was a major blow for us, losing a player at the peak of his form, and we've got nobody on the books to replace him.
My grandson's very upset. Sorry, my grandson's very upset about the loss of Forestieri.
No, I should have gone 2 years ago.
Maybe he just loves him, and Forestieri's been ever so good with him. To be fair,
I can understand. I mean,
he's only 6.
I know Dave Redfern is a big fan of Forestieri. So am I, but got to be honest, for 2 years, he's not done it.
Yeah.
There are many reasons why he's not done it, but he's a brilliant player on his day. But he's not had many days in 2 years.
Yeah. Right. Go on, Lowell, finish off.
Okay. Good result for Wednesday at the weekend. Goal in each half to win at Bristol City. Connor Wickham had no defender anywhere near him when he got that first header.
Good header, though.
Yeah.
Good header.
Terrible defending. Now, very poor performance by the Blades at Old Trafford. Started quite brightly, but then Martial was the first
And
player
then he
to
kicked
score
off.
a Premiership hat-trick for Man U in 7 years. Man U could have had many more. Better performance against Arsenal, but really looked like scoring. So I trust the VAR had to intervene again. Hey?
What?
Did he watch it?
I didn't wait in the game.
What?
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 We had
What?
2 disallowed.
What?
Very well like scoring.
Valium, gentlemen, Valium now.
Yeah.
How did Basham miss that header?
And Basham's header.
I like you.
And
Gordon.
Sharp should have scored late on.
Yep. Yeah. Put that comment in just to make it controversial.
You did that.
It worked.
Nearly started the Third World War.
Pretty good news yesterday. It was confirmed that Dean Henderson's loan has been extended to the end of the season. But what we do next year, it may come back again, yeah? They try and negotiate another year with him.
He's a
Could
good
have
player.
Dawson.
They'll not get him. He said he's leaving United if they won't guarantee him first choice. I mean, Man United, by the way, when I said United. Chelsea will be playing for next season.
He is a good player. He's a good. I was impressed with him over the weekend. Was it the weekend? Whenever.
He made one of good saves against Arsenal, one of two good
That's
saves
when
there.
I saw him. I thought he's good.
Right. Okay.
I'll
Go on.
terminate it there, Keith.
Yeah.
We should
that's
congratulate
brilliant.
Liverpool, though. We should congratulate Ian, shouldn't we?
Oh, yes. And finally, Ian, one team luckily won the championship this season, the title.
Yeah, all my own efforts, Keith.
They were so lucky to win it, losing 2 games in the year. I mean,
Tremendous.
yeah.
2 games,
Fantastic.
2 seasons, Keith. Get it right.
I said in the year.
Yeah, 2 games in 2 seasons. More than a year.
Quite right. Great
more
team,
than a
Ian.
year.
And your fans have got to set fire to the Library building.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
£10,000 worth of damage.
It was our Aussie. Told him not to do it.
Right. Okay, we'll move swiftly on. Chris talking about his dad. So it's the next instalment, and we'll move on to Chris if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys. Just a swift reminder, part 1 of my dad's career at Notts was last time I spoke. And just to remind you, he was a young lad at that time making his way, adjusting to be a pro in the 1950s. And to remind everyone, that was his first job after leaving school. So I'm going to move on to part 2 of my dad's career in cricket, which will cover the period 53 to 58. 1953 season was, this is my dad speaking, sorry, from his autobiography. The 1953 season was my professional start at Trent Bridge. I had a big advantage because I was a natural catcher of a cricket ball, which meant I was frequently wanted as the 12th man in the first team in these early years. However, my scoring had become badly stifled under the restraining influence of coach Jim Parks, who was a Sussex stalwart and had been brought in to replace Bill Bose. Minor counties cricket in the 50s was of a very high standard because of the first class counties all had a second 11 in the competition, and every opponent that we played possessed top quality players, frequently test match players, and Yorkshire and Lancashire in particular were usually our most difficult games. I first stepped onto a first class scene in my first season after being appointed 12th man for Notts at Trent Bridge against Northants. I was actually instructed to come onto the field to play for the opposition after an injury to their wicketkeeper. And then immediately after that, I caught our star player, Bruce Dooland. And I wasn't the most popular man in the dressing room, but there you go. I also fielded at second slip for Northants and witnessed from that position the speed of the legendary fast bowler Frank Tyson, who was making his debut in that game.
Can I just stop you there, Chris?
Yep.
Chris, stop you there. Just a similar story. I once went with one of my friends to watch him play cricket, and he was a good opening batsman. Anyway, the opposition was short that night, so I turned out for the opposition, and my friend on 49 smacked a good one towards the boundary. I ran about 10, 15 yards, dived full length and caught him out. You can imagine him, he called me as he walked past me.
Yeah.
Superman.
Was that tripped full length, Keith?
No, Ian?
Just a quick one, Chris. Maybe
Sorry?
tell me the background to it, but when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, so it must be 56, 57, round about then,
Yeah.
on a holiday in the Isle of Man, they used to, on a Thursday, have a fancy dress for kids. And I was dressed up by my mum as Tyson gets the sack. And he must have been an England player or something to do with England, and he got the sack. I don't know for what reason, but that's the only reason I know that guy's name from a.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know that story. Frank Tyson was, according to many experts, probably one of the fastest bowlers in the history of cricket.
Yeah.
He played for Northants, and obviously I wasn't around to see him play at that time. But I don't know that story. I'll do some research on Tyson gets sacked. Right.
It must have registered because it was headline news.
Right.
That's why my mum said, "Oh, you must dress up with a sack."
Right, okay. I'll do some digging on that. I'll do some digging on that. So it could be an interesting story.
Well, carry on then, Chris.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's good stuff. No. So in 1955, moving on slightly, for a change, we had an exceptional first day against Yorkshire Seconds at Shaw Lane, Barnsley. I scored 39 in very difficult conditions. I was actually caught by H.D. Bird.
Dickie.
Yeah.
And then we also got, before the end of play, 6 of Yorkshire's players out for only 59. Unfortunately, when we woke up the following day, there'd been 6 inches of overnight snow. And so all we could do was go back to the ground, pick up a kit, go home, and dream that we might have won that match. But we'll never know. Another incredible story concerns not one, but 2 film stars. It was the 1950s tradition for Notts to play an annual benefit game at Catford in Kent. I was named 12th man for the 1955 game, and Notts were very swiftly 83 for 8 against Catford. Our last man, Eddie Rowe, was in the dressing room, extremely merry on complimentary beer that had been supplied by the hosts.
Oh.
So it was suggested that I go in at number 11 instead of Eddie. And when I did, the Catford fans were very confident of a victory over a county side. I arrived at the wicket and took my guard from one of the 2 famous British film stars who had agreed to officiate. This umpire was Boris Karloff, Frankenstein no less.
Frankenstein's monster.
His partner at square leg was Trevor Howard of Brief Encounter and The Third Man fame. Yeah. Arthur Jepson was my last wicket partner, and we both scored 80 to ensure that Notts would eventually win to quieten the locals down.
Wow.
Mr. Karloff and Mr. Howard came into the dressing room after the match and shook hands with myself. I was completely speechless and managed to mutter something like, "Thank you, sirs."
Wow.
Again, in 1955, I managed another memorable appearance as 12th man against Middlesex. And forgive me if I've said this briefly before, but it's worth telling. When Middlesex lost their 6th second innings wickets to Bruce Dooland, my colleague, Johnny Clay, had to go off for a toilet break. So I walked on as the 12th man with the legendary Dennis Compton, who was batting lower down the order due to a hand injury. This superstar of cricket never stopped talking to me, a newcomer, all the way to the wicket. When he got there, I went to first slip. Dennis pushed forward at his first ball, got an edge, and I caught it quite comfortably. Johnny Clay was then ready to come back on. So in literally less than a minute of having arrived with Dennis Compton, I was now going off with Dennis Compton. I hadn't fielded in the game up to that point, and I was never required to come on in the match at any stage after that. So I probably became the only cricketer to have played first-class cricket, to have been on the pitch, on the match, for 1 ball and caught a catch. As a byline to that, Christopher Martin Jenkins found out about this story, and he featured that as a quiz question in his 1976 bumper Christmas annual. And not many people know that.
Chris, you said Compton talked all way to the wicket to your dad on the way in?
Mm.
Was there much said on the way out?
Probably not a huge amount. But Dennis, being the great sportsman that he was, you know, getting a naught against Notts wasn't the end of the world, but it was a strange coincidence that those things happened.
What an experience.
What an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get to 1957 season. My dad's still trying to make it, right? And I'll pick it up. I shook off Coach Parks's ill-conceived ideas and had begun to display the batting form that I knew I could do. And I got 2 scores of 70 and a 60 in the second team. And it looked as if the whispers were I was going to get selected for the first team, which was my dream. But a tragedy then struck me down, and the rest of the season was finished for me, almost finished for me. During a catching practice session at Trent Bridge, my eyes were firmly fixed on a ball hit deep into the outfield, and I collided with the white line marker that the Notts groundsman had deserted to stupidly come alongside me and go for the same catch. I mean, health and safety. I mean, you know, can you imagine this? Mm-hmm. The problem was I was taken to hospital for treatment for a badly injured knee, but much worse, I broke my collarbone, which put me out. And I'm not telling you what he said to the groundsman, although I do know what he said. So we get to 58 now, and in 1958, my dad is 23. And just to remind you, that's my dad in about 1958, okay? I recovered well to start the 1958 season, and with a growing confidence, I knew this was going to be a big year in my career. I've got here the history of Nottinghamshire County Cricket Club, and I've got the page open for 1958. And the squad is the largest squad in the history of Notts. It's nearly 33 players for Notts. So to get into the first team, this is a major thing for a young lad. On June the 4th, I played my best, but not my highest innings of 52 at Worksop against Lancashire, who'd got 3 England bowlers playing for them. It was especially memorable for me because my dad, JB, was proudly present at his old home ground, and he saw me succeed in these challenging conditions. Well, moving on, I eventually did realise my dream of making my first-class debut for Notts later that same month, on June the 30th, against Essex at Colchester, in a game restricted to 2 days by heavy rain. A friend of mine, after my father's passing, was kind enough to find and send me the original scorecard from my dad's debut. And so It's quite old and it's handwritten on. You can see that it's well used, but you know, to have that as my dad's debut
Fantastic.
and that was sent to me as a little gesture of sporting goodwill. I really do find that very touching.
Yeah.
Okay, well, having got to the debut, I got a duck. I was given out stumped by umpire Harry Baldwin, who was stood over 35 yards back at square leg and not paying any particular attention. In fact, his decision brought howls of derision from the spectators behind him, who were actually Essex fans. I was saddened by this experience because I'd worked so hard on my game. Sorry. And I'd waited 5 years and over 50 second team games to get this chance. A disappointing feature of this drawn match was the superior attitude of the former England player Trevor Bailey, who never deigned to speak to any of us at any stage of this match. I received my first ball in first-class cricket from Mr. Bailey, and I middled it with the biggest defensive shot I could muster. In the future, I could compare his snobbish behaviour with the sporting and generous attitudes of the likes of Tom Graveney, Colin Cowdrey, Peter May, and the great Dennis Compton, all of whom always greeted me with a handshake and a good luck. Well, I played in the next 8 consecutive first team games for Notts, and that was how my first team career commenced and started to develop at Trent Bridge. In the 5th of those 8 consecutive games, I've got the scorecard for that match against Northampton, and there's the scorecard for that particular match, with my dad going in at number 4.
You hold it a bit higher.
Sorry?
Hold it a bit higher.
A bit higher. That's it.
Bit low,
No,
sorry.
Lower. Higher.
Stop talking, guys. It's not come on the screen yet.
That's it. Hold it there.
Everybody quiet. Can't see him.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Got it.
Right. And my dad, that was his 5th game in a row, and he was the 2nd top scorer in that game, and he was playing against Frank Tyson again, and Frank didn't get him out, so he was very proud of that.
Good.
As a side note, going back 1955, my dad married my dear mother Mary, but it was in December, and it was therefore out of season and didn't interrupt the cricket. So that's how they went on from there. If you want another instalment, Keith and lads, I'll prepare one for my dad's final season at Trent Bridge, which is a story of his greatest scores and his greatest ever match with an absolute legend of the game.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christian. Right. Dave.
Dave Redford.
A question for Doug. Do we know where Tim Bresner's going yet?
No. No, it's not said. It's not been published yet.
Strange business, that.
Yeah. Right. We'll try and move swiftly on. And I know someone has got a quiz ready. So Paul the Biscuit has got a 1968 quiz. So do all or some of it to get us going. So is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, it's got 30 odd questions, so it probably we won't finish it. It's mostly sport, but not all of them. So the first one: who was the Prime Minister in '68?
Harold Wilson.
Harold Wilson.
When did he lose the election? Can you remember?
64.
When did he?
64.
In 1964, he knocked my father out, Stockport South.
No.
Did he?
How did he lose his election? In other words, got voted out.
Was it Ted Heath or Jim Callaghan that ousted him?
It was 1970.
It was an issue with security and something about the Isle of Scilly Isles and his Mrs. Faulkner or somebody.
Now, he thought, because it was 4 days after England got knocked out the World Cup in the quarter-final when they were 2-0 up against Germany and lost 3-2, he thought it was the nation was feeling down as a result of England for the world champions. He always puts it down to that.
Oh, Mary, come and listen to this.
Yes.
Well, Alf Ramsey's substitutions that got Wilson out then.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the
Right.
food poisoning.
Where were the Olympic Games?
Yeah,
held that year?
true.
Yeah.
Mexico.
68.
Mexico.
68 during Mexico.
Correct.
Hold on, Ron.
Who sang the theme tune?
I was off work because I had appendicitis.
Oh, nice. So you saw it all.
Yeah.
Who won the long jump?
Bob Beeman.
Bob Beeman.
Correct.
Bob Beeman.
How far did he jump?
28 feet.
29 foot and a lot.
29 foot, 2 1/4. 8 meters 90.
You can
who
do
won?
2 1/4 bit, can't you, John?
Yeah.
Stop it. It's recording.
He's recording it.
I know. Who won the 400 meters hurdles?
David Emery.
David Emery.
David Emery. Yeah. And who
And who
came
cares
third?
who's come third?
Who cares who's come first?
Yeah. John Sherwood.
John Sherwood, yeah.
Yeah.
Which two US athletes gave the Black Power salute?
Tommy Smith.
Tommy Smith.
And
John Carlos.
John
Correct.
Carlos.
John Carlos.
John
Yes.
Carlos, yeah.
And who was the other person on the rostrum with them?
Who came
He was a
first?
New Zealander.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't. Near them.
No, it was American.
Australian then.
Australia.
Australian.
Oh,
There's a guy called Peter Norman.
Australian.
Peter Norman,
Yeah.
and he supported the Black Power thing. He didn't acknowledge it either, and Australia sent him home and never chose him again, even though he was their fastest sprinter for the next 5 years. They refused to select him.
Disgraceful.
Well, yeah, he's a family friend of mine, knows their family very well, and they've recently erected a statue to Peter Norman, and John Carlos went when the statue was unveiled. But
Very
he was
good.
not selected for Australia again.
Good story.
Yeah. Who won the boxing heavyweight gold medal in '68?
Chris Finnegan.
Joe Frazier.
Oh,
No,
Hey.
Foreman.
Foreman, George Foreman, correct. And
One of his cookers.
I know it's a barbecue.
Yeah.
Somebody's already mentioned the name. I heard the Briton who won a middleweight gold.
Chris Finnegan.
Correct. Yeah, Chris
Good
Finnegan.
answer.
Archie
Yeah.
Moore.
Yeah.
Isaac Major was a runner-up. Yeah, I know. That's the Crystal Peaks joke, I think. Which long-running BBC sitcom started in '68?
Dead
Dad's
car.
Army.
Dad's Army.
Dad's
Yeah.
Army. Who
Yeah.
do you think?
Who do you think you are kidding, Mr.
You're
Hitler?
kidding, Mr. Hitler.
We've got a trio going here.
Boys that will stop your little game.
Don't tell him
We
your
are
name,
the
Paul.
boys who will make you think again. Come on.
So I'm
No,
enjoying your singing, Ian.
We had a trio going then at one bit.
Yeah,
John and Keith were singing with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid boy, Pike.
What were you saying, Chris?
So don't tell him your name, John.
Stupid boy.
Where were the Winter Olympics held that year? Because that was when around the time when they were both in the same year.
Canada.
No. I might have missed some of the early ones that shouted out then.
Japan.
No.
Colorado.
No. It's European.
France.
Go on. Yeah. Whereabouts?
In the
Brunei.
mountains.
In the mountains. Nice one.
San Moritz.
Begins with a G. G.
Grenoble. No, that's
Grenoble.
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 Thought that's-
And at those Olympics, who won the men's downhill skiing?
Jean-Claude Killy,
Correct.
O'Keely.
Yeah.
who
He
used to
became
swing
quite a big name at the time.
used to ski in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a vacuum cleaner repair shop on West Street now.
Of course he has.
He eats as he sweeps as he cleans.
Right. What innovation in aviation took place in '68?
Harrier jump jet.
No.
The Concorde.
Hovercraft.
Air
No.
brakes.
No.
Hovercraft.
No.
No, that were a lot earlier, Keith. I did a project on it at junior school. Yeah.
I was on the first hovercraft service, Llandudno to Rill,
Yeah.
62.
Were you the
Did you ever
skipper?
get there?
Was it the black box?
I
No.
was the boy.
stupid boy.
Concorde.
That's the one.
Not Concorde. No.
Jumbo.
Yes. It was the first jumbo jet. First jumbo jet flew in '68.
Jumbo jet.
Yeah. And they reckon that as a result of coronavirus, probably none will fly again.
What?
The ears are too big.
Because they're too big, hold too many passengers.
What a load of rubbish
Well,
that is. None
economically-
of us are going to go on holiday again now, ever.
yes, we are.
It's the air conditioning
Yeah.
that's the problem. It's not the size of the aircraft. It's the air
True.
conditioning. We're recycling bad air people are going to get whatever germs going. How many people you know come back from holiday with a cold?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's circulated air.
But they claim, and they would say this obviously, that the air that is recirculated is actually cleaner than what went in. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nah.
Because of the filtration system. So they say. But I would have it now, I think.
Couldn't they solve the problem by just opening the window?
Yeah, of course they could. Yeah.
Are we on question 2 yet?
No. That was just a supplementary. We're still on Harold Wilson.
Listen to this.
Well, then, which team won the European Cup? Give you an easy one for question 2.
Man U.
Yeah. Who did they beat?
Benfica.
Benfica, yeah.
Who won the FA Cup that year?
West Brom.
West Brom.
Yeah.
Jeff Hassel.
Jeff Astle, right foot. Yeah.
What did he achieve by in that FA Cup?
Did he score in every round?
Yeah, he was the first person.
Did he score in every round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Ellie Schrimmer scored in every round in 1935.
Yeah, but they only got to the 4th round.
Oh, dear.
I know you won it. I know.
Yeah,
I
thank
know.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Who were the league champions before that
Leeds.
Premier League thing came out?
Dirty Leeds.
Leeds.
No.
Liverpool.
No.
Man U.
Everton. Everton.
No.
Tottenham.
No.
Blackburn Rovers.
Nope.
Man City.
Man City. Correct.
Oh, Man City, of course.
Wow.
Of course.
Franny Lee and company.
Colin
Yeah.
Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were the European Championship winners? Country, obviously.
Was that the year Russia won it?
Swansea.
No, it wasn't Russia.
Germany.
No.
France.
No. One of the big ones.
Italy.
One of the big ones.
Italy.
Belgium.
Italy.
Italy.
Yeah. They beat Yugoslavia 2-0 in a replay after a 1-1 draw. Now, how are we doing for time? Okay.
4:30.
How did
We've
the
got
postal service?
4.5.
Sorry, say that again.
4.5 or 4
All right.
minutes.
Okay. Tell me when to shut up.
Yeah.
How did the postal service change?
First and second class post.
Well, first class post was introduced for the first time. Yeah.
Paul, could you sing your questions with the music, please?
I did wonder if it was Postman Pat ringing the bell.
Next time.
68. Who was the first man to run 100 meters in under 10 seconds?
John.
No, it was somebody
Green.
who was singing.
Chased by Jenny.
Yeah,
I overtook him.
I believe you. It was somebody who was trying to get away from his singing.
Yeah, that was me.
Go on then. Who was the first 100 meters under 10 seconds, man?
Jim Hines.
Correct, Jim Hines, United
Good answer.
States. Yeah, good one.
Did it 57 times.
Probably. Yeah.
Very good, Ian.
You'll know this is an easy one as well. Whose exclusion from an England cricket team caused uproar?
Basil Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Yeah.
Basil.
And what cricketing first?
And Robin Jackman.
Yeah. Because he wasn't selected originally, was he?
No.
He wasn't in the original squad, I don't think, was he?
No.
No, he was not.
He came in as a replacement, I believe.
Yeah.
Because the South Africans originally said that if you pick him, he won't go. We won't have you.
Correct.
And then somebody dropped out, Robin Jackman, and he came in, and then that's when it all kicked off. And what cricketing first happened at Swansea in '68?
Sixers.
Garfield Sobers.
Gary Sobers, yeah.
The ball, by the way, is still in dispute.
They're still going out of the docks, aren't they?
It was
Is
sold.
it on that shelf behind you?
It was sold for £26,000 as the ball that was hit for 6, and it isn't that ball.
All right.
Still a dispute.
It's disputed
Okay.
in South Wales.
Who was the bowler?
Pardon?
Who was the bowler?
Nash.
Nash.
Malcolm Nash.
Malcolm Nash, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think you might struggle. Oh, do you want me to stop now, Keith?
Well, we've got 1 minute 45.
Go on, get a question out.
Okay, last one, because I think you might struggle on this one. Who won the Masters golf?
68. Trevino.
Yeah.
Who, sorry?
Trevino.
No.
Trevino.
Player.
No.
Nagel.
Jacqueline.
It's not a well-known player.
The South American. Di Vincenzo.
He was involved in it, but he didn't win it. He didn't win it, but he was involved in the controversy that led to the actual winner winning.
Because he didn't sign the card properly or something.
Correct. The winner was Bob Golby, and he won because Roberto Di Vincenzo made a scorecard error.
Yeah.
He actually wrote himself down for a 4 when he got himself a 3. So in other words, he diddled himself by 1. But because he signed for it incorrectly, he was deducted 2 strokes and ended up.
Hello, me neck.
Yeah.
That's cruel.
Fancy losing.
Cruel.
Because it was too fair.
Right, folks, we've less than a minute to go.
I'll stop.
Thank you for everybody's
Thank
involvement.
you, Paul. Paul.
Thank you.
Well done, Paul.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all again next week.